Okay, so I'm going to do the 7B review and then go over what you should definitely focus on for the FRQs for this chapter. Okay, let's go. So 7B is thinking, when we're talking about cognition, right? So in order to think about the world, we know we form concepts, right? Our concept of dog, I think we talked about in classes, okay, has a wagging tail, has a snout, has ears, barks, right? That's all our concept of dogs. We have concepts of everything, like the college essays that we're writing, okay? It's a mental grouping of similar objects, events, or ideas or people that help us kind of make sense of the world, okay? And we're going to talk about this later, but these concepts are similar to Piaget's idea of schemas. Remember, we base our concepts on prototypes. That's a mental image or best example of a category. Most times when guys are asked to think of a woman, they might think of a hot Victoria's Secret model as their prototype. The first thing comes to mind, even if it doesn't necessarily match everything else that fits into this concept. If a new object is similar to our prototype, then we are better able to recognize it. Then, how do we solve problems? This is really what you were looking at for your college essay for sure. We know trial and error is one way. During our marshmallow challenge, a lot of you were doing this when you were focusing on trying one way, then it broke, so you try another way, trial and error. Algorithms take the longest amount of time. It's like this methodical, logical rule that helps. It's going to guarantee that you're going to solve your problem. It's just going to take a lot longer than something like a heuristic would, right? And we know heuristics are these kind of shortcuts that allow us to make judgments and solve problems efficiently, okay? And we know that there's two kinds. Get to that in a second. Remember, it can even help someone make an easy decision like, who would you trust to babysit your child? We base our heuristic and our concept of a guy that looks like that may not be as reliable as a granny babysitter, right? Insight, then, is kind of just a sudden and novel realization of a solution to a problem. A lot of times when you do crosswords or Sudoku puzzles or something like that, all of a sudden the answer might just suddenly come to you. That's insight, like the light bulb going off. Okay, creativity, the one thing you want to remember is the difference between divergent and convergent thinking. Remember, convergent thinking is when there is one answer, like that's like on an IQ test or multiple choice test or something like that. Divergent thinking, sorry, I forgot what I just said. Convergent is the one answer. Divergent, there are multiple answers. This is what is assessed on creativity test, and this totally, no, we're good. There's multiple answers. There's not just one answer. Okay. Confirmation bias, then, this can be an obstacle to solving problems. Once we kind of have our mind set on something, like if you decide 100% you want to go to Westchester, you're only going to look for information that supports what you believe and just kind of disregard any stuff that may not support it. Like maybe it doesn't have your major, but because you're looking at only the good stuff, you're still going to keep trying to confirm your preconceptions to make this decision. Functional fixedness, we know that's a tendency to think of things only in terms of their usual functions. Like we know that this quarter can be used in a vending machine, but we need to think about the fact that it could also be used to maybe turn a screw, right? All sorts of stuff that it could do. Representativeness heuristic. This is when we are judging things in terms of how likely those things match our prototype. So for your college, let's say Westchester was your prototype, and then you go to other schools and they don't match that prototype. So that could limit your problem-solving abilities in some way, hinder you from making the best decision, and it can cause us to ignore important information. Availability heuristic, then, is also a heuristic. It's a shortcut, but what it does is it helps us make decisions based on an image that comes most readily to mind. So like if your sibling visited goes to Penn State and you visited them, that mental image is like vivid in your mind because you experienced it firsthand. Overconfidence, this is when we're overconfident, right? More often we're more overconfident. You probably think you did really, really well on most tests, then you get it back, you're like, oh shoot, I didn't do so well. This is overestimating the accuracy of your beliefs. framing then, this is the way an issue is posed in some way. It can have effects on your decisions and judgments. There's some good examples in your book that you may want to take a look at. Okay. Language and thought, then this is the last part of 7b. Language, we know our definition. I believe there's a definitional question on the test. That's our spoken, written, or gestured words and the way we combine them to communicate some kind of meaning to one another. Okay, we know there's Jim Carrey. He is definitely communicating something with that picture, right? Okay, phonemes. In the spoken language, this is the smallest distinctive unit of sound. So chug has 3 phonemes. Sh, g. Those are 3. Those are small units of sound, but they can form larger words, obviously. But these are just small. These are the phonemes, smallest sounds. Okay. Morphemes, then, this is the smallest unit that carries meaning. If we look back at our phonemes, right, sh, g, none of those have any meaning, right? But morphemes, these are the smallest units that carry some kind of meaning. This could be a word or part of the word. A suffix like ed, we know that means it's past tense, right? That has some meaning to it. Okay, as far as grammar goes, we know that's the system of rules and language that enable us to communicate and understand words. Understand others, I'm sorry. Semantics, then, these are the set of rules by which we derive meaning in a language. So things could be grammatically correct and make sense, but could be grammatically correct in that way, but they may make no actual sense to us. Our sentences need grammar and semantics, need to follow these rules so they can both be grammatically correct and have some kind of meaning, mean something to us, okay? Syntax, these are the rules for combining words into grammatically sensible sentences, things that make sense. This is the order of words in a sentence. Language development, you definitely want to focus on this for your FRQ, I can tell you right now, but you want to know the different stages of language development. The babbling stage, that starts about 3 to 4 months for most children. The infants just make sounds. They don't make sense. They're just kind of it's literally babbling. It doesn't have to just be phonemes in the household language. It can be other sounds as well. They're just kind of babbling. Productive speech means this is just you're developing this capacity at 1 year old to produce speech that makes sense, okay? 1 word stage, between 1 and 2 years old, children are able to use 1 word to communicate big meanings. Cat, right? Dog, ball, mom, dad. They know these things have meaning. 2 word stage. This conveniently happens at age 2, right? Most children can use 2 words to communicate meanings. This is also called telegraphic speech. So like cat, sat, right? That has meaning. That's 2 words. I don't think that I would say cat sat, but we know that it makes sense, right? Okay, Skinner and Chomsky both have different theories of language development. Skinner thought we can explain language through social learning theory, right? We're imitating. Think back to observational learning that we looked at with Bandura, right? Social learning theory, okay? By observing others, and being rewarded, we are learning and acquiring language. Chomsky didn't quite agree. He thinks that we kind of have in us this thing called a language acquisition device, and it gives us these rules, this inborn universal grammar that's going to work in any language, actually. It just has to kind of be like turned on by whatever language is being spoken around you. He says we acquire language way too quickly for it to be learned and understanding, like the grammar and things like that. So he says we have this learning box, or as I said, a language acquisition device. It's sometimes abbreviated as LAD, that enabled us to learn any human language at all. So that's why a child who speaks Chinese, can learn it just as quickly as somebody speaks English, learning English. Okay, FRQ-wise then, we have a 7B, a 7A, a 7B, and then 6, and I'm going to make another video for this because I'm just realizing this slide isn't here.